To be a CASA volunteer, it takes commitment, diligence, objectivity, and passion. Training is 6 weeks long and involves both online and in-person work. It's not a job for everyone, so the question you have to ask yourself is, do you have what it takes? We're back for another week of CASA Superheroes. We're following Nick and Shonda as they go through the CASA training program to see if they have what it takes to be a CASA advocate.
So week 2 was about child development and our first case study. Nick and Shonda did really well in our case study. There was one group that didn't get all the interviews done, and that really affected their recommendations that they made.
Failed on that one. Yep.
I think we did better than the other team.
So we had our first case study last week, the blue case, and broke up into 2 teams, and we thought we had done really well. We did remember to interview the child. And we had 8 interviews and we could only find 6, my team did. The other team found all 8. And when it was over, we realized that we did not interview the child again. That's totally allowed, like back follow-up interviews.
It was cool that we were able to get help and kind of assisted along the way, but also that we were able to figure out the solutions as a team and come up with kind of the best scenario moving forward.
We kind of dropped the ball, but I think it was an okay rookie mistake. So, you know, we're very competitive. I'm very competitive, so we'll do better next week.
During week 2, we talked about child development, and we looked at different developmental milestones and had an activity, little competition between 2 teams to see who could get the most developmental milestones in the range of ages correct. And so they did pretty well.
I realized I had virtually no grasp on early childhood development. I thought I did. The guessing, we played a game where we had to put scenarios in a category by age, and some of them we were off by, months, because it was, some kids are faster than others. But there was a couple that we chose where we were like, this is within the first 12 months, and it showed they were like 13 years old. So it was very interesting. It was really eye-opening, and I think that understanding early childhood development is going to be essential in this role. So I was pleasantly surprised to learn as much as I did.
Even though Nick and Shonda don't have children, they did really well looking at the different child development and the developmental milestones we were looking at. And everyone really said that they want more information on child development because it is such a crucial part of our advocacy. Here we are at week 3 at CASA training. Tonight we're going to dive into another case study. We're going to talk about childhood trauma. Childhood trauma is a very important subject when we talk about the families that we work with. Not only does it affect the children, but a lot of times it affects the family members. So we're going to dive in and talk about the CASA study. We're going to talk about resilience and how to support children who have experienced trauma and help them to work through that.
Different types of trauma. I'm not sure if I'm going to answer this correctly, so what I will say, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, trauma would be, I guess, something like a death in the family, something, maybe an accident.
I don't have a lot of hands-on experience with dealing with individuals with trauma or even seeing trauma on a day-to-day, but I understand that, it's a sensitive subject and that you have to kind of tread carefully and maybe not let the scenarios take control, but be proactive and kind of work through those in the appropriate manner. I
have a bit of experience understanding trauma due to my background of working with the Abbey shelter. Just being on the board, we're not directly involved, but we do hear about it, and sometimes we do have a bit of involvement, generally speaking. And so today it will be interesting to tie that in with what I know and learn more that's more of the focus on the child. So I'm very excited about tonight.
When I think about resilience, I think that it depends on the individual and the child, and that different children are able to cope with different scenarios and have different levels of thresholds and are able to kind of navigate those emotional periods and sometimes even excel through despite the hardships.
I guess I'm not even entirely sure I can define it in a way that would be helpful for me to even express it, but I understand that it's, just a matter of your level of being resilient, which isn't very much a definition. It's kind of using the word to define it, which doesn't, it's kind of cheating, but I think there's different, people's idea of resilience and different levels. People in our situation, what we're probably going to be learning might be something of a child being resilient to going to a foster or going back home or opening it up to a CASA maybe, or maybe the parents being resilient. And I may be confusing resilience with defiant or resistance. I don't know. We'll see. We'll learn.
Some challenges that come up when we talk about trauma is really recognizing the experiences that you have and have experienced in your life and those triggers that might come up when you're working with the kiddos, but also looking at what these children have been through and not what's wrong with them, but what has happened to them. Also looking at the families. A lot of the families we work with might have childhood trauma that has gone untreated, and so that really is a factor in working with these families and advocating for these children.
So after tonight, I hope to have a more holistic and better understanding of how to approach traumatic situations and dealing with those who may have been exposed to trauma throughout their lives, especially children, and have a more proactive approach versus a reactive approach to these situations and individuals with trauma.
After tonight, I hope I have a more specific, a better understanding of trauma through the eyes of a child. I feel like any of my experience would be through an adult. And so I think I would like to better see it through their eyes and better understand it so that I can be a better CASA, since I'm advocating for them and not the parent.
We're really excited to have Nick and Shonda in training. They're going to be great advocates for our program and for the children they work with. We do have a lot of information still to cover, and so they do have a long ways to go before they're out there advocating for children.
Well, it sounds like Nick and Shonda are hanging in there. 2 weeks down, 4 to go. Join us next episode to see how they do during week 3 of CASA Superheroes.